GM. GM. Daily levels. Today is Friday, the 16th of February. And early one, traveling today. So daily levels. Yesterday's close was not bad, actually. Uh, we pushed up above a key level, though, which is the December 2021 liquidity level. As you can see it over here. It was the December high before we ended up, or the last high, sorry, in December 21 before a big sell-off began. Some liquidity be resting there, but that's only like the same as the 0.618 retracement that everyone talked about over here, right? This move up was like a 0.618 retracement of the bear market. All of those are just technical levels on the way to Bitcoin getting to where it's going to go. Now, clearly, there's loads of room for Bitcoin to pull back and form some kind of higher low. But also, clearly, that's super obvious, right? You're not a genius for spotting that. Loads of people are looking at that. And I think that the market itself is going to keep grinding slowly higher and higher and higher as long as Bitcoin keeps putting in solid daily closes. I probably would have expected or needed to see some kind of red candle close for me to be concerned about immediate follow through. And I talked about this last night, and this is still true. Because the market is, because it's Friday and we still have a US session to come up, I said it wouldn't break down, and I didn't think it would break down before that. And we had this little dip down sell off, and the market got absorbed, bought back up. We're actually still holding the 1 hour trend. Haven't even come down as low as the 1 hour 100 yet. So on the 1 hour trend that we've been in, really strong, all the way up, holding the 50, towards the 100, didn't touch it, and held the 50 again. Now, eventually that'll break, I'm sure. And I want to talk then about the expectations versus reality, because I think that's one of the biggest things now that matters with the ETFs. Here's something to understand about flows. The flows are real, right? The money that flows into the ETFs from the buyers, that's real. But it's also past data. Understand? We only get it every day, and we only get it the day after or late that day for the following. So if they say there's 500 million inflows into the ETFs, that means there was yesterday. So the market can't deal with past data. Past data doesn't affect the market. The market's already looking ahead. So when you hear about 500 million, 500 million, 500 million, that's now anchored in people's minds. And so what people are doing every day outside of the ETF hours is they're bullish Bitcoin, they're buying Bitcoin in anticipation of another 500 million. So there will, I suspect, there will come a point where there isn't 500 million flowing in every single day. And just like back here, right? If you remember, all anyone talked about in this 2 week period was GBTC flows, another 500 million of GBTC, another 300 million of GBTC. They're just selling, they're selling, they're selling, they're selling. And eventually, the market expected that selling to never stop. The selling did slow down, and we got this nice reaction. Over here, when we were getting long and trading the bounce up, and then when it was rallying up, I was talking about the change of flows sort of around here and into this week, really, this Monday, the 5th of February, and then onwards from there. That was when the flows started to really turn positive. And then all the way up, people weren't really talking about the flows that much. And if you imagine on this slope, right? If you take the average person, like the least informed person in the market, which is really like your competition, right? You have to be, to begin with, you have to be more informed than the dumbest person in the market. Now that's not hard to do, but you need to do that. So what does the average participant think? They didn't even talk about ETFs or know about ETFs or any of this shit. They're just going off what they hear on Twitter or on YouTube from their favorite talking head, right? And so maybe 20% of people were starting to talk about the flows potentially being bullish over here. Then 30, then 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and it's at least 90% now. Because I go on Twitter, all I see, and I'm sure you guys can see this, there's trackers, there's now podcasts. The talking point on podcasts is ETF flows. It's 100% accepted, and it's 100% the narrative now that the ETF flows are mega bullish. So that then opens us up to be in the exact opposite position to what we were down here. Some kind of pullback will come, not because the flows are bearish, but because people, after it's went up 35%, people will keep just every day buying, 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 thinking that there's this free 500 million of demand coming in. But that's not how supply and demand works. You only know what the flows were yesterday. And let's say the market expects another 500 million today. And so they keep buying. And then today's ETFs, there's 250 million, not as much, right? There's 50%, half as many inflows as they expect. They expect 500 million, we get 250 million. Again, both amazing days. However, the expectation and the reality won't match and we'll sell off, right? The supply demand will mismatch. And then when you zoom out, I mean, look at this trend. This just reminds me of October all over again, breaking up into a super strong 4-hour trend, up, 4-hour trend, up, 4-hour trend, up, up, up. And we went up, up, up all the way. And then we hugged the 50. And then we touched the 100. And then we went all the way up. And we even held the 200. And the 200 again into the end of the run. And that 4-hour trend went from October until January. This is such a nice position to be in because we are currently from the 7th of February to the 16th. We're a week in. We're a week in and we're still in the super strong up only 4-hour 4-hour green bands EMA phase. We haven't even touched the 50 yet, or the 100, or the 200. Now, in a proper strong trend, like you've seen, a real sustainable trend will go sideways and very, very slowly reach that 50. If it dumps down into it, that's more of a weak sign of weakness, like here. If it dumps down into it, it's more likely to go all the way through. So you don't want to see it come to the 50 too soon. It can, we can have sharp, fast shakeouts, but I would prefer that we consolidate sideways. So it's much better if you are going to get some kind of pullback. It's much better for price to chop sideways. Oh, sorry, I thought it would. Fresh chart. Fucking hell. No fresh charts here. So it's much more bullish if price kind of chops sideways and then dips into that band, right? For the first time, goes sideways, 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 quick flush into the bands and then up, rather than it just going like this. That is more of a sign of actual weakness. Now, it's not too bad the first time, right? Because the 50 is usually the best one. And that can just be an aggressive shakeout and we reverse and go straight up again. That can be the case. But generally, you want to see price acceptance, right? If Bitcoin's going to all-time highs, then it should have no problem spending a week or two in the 50 area, right? That would be showing that, yes, Bitcoin is going to trade up here. And then when you get some dips, it'll come back and it'll trade up there. And then it'll push again. And then it'll overextend. And it'll push again. And it'll overextend. Right? It'll do these kind of sweeps. Because that's how people... Like, the only way for this to keep going higher is for it to look bearish at a certain point. A little bit like the bears were getting trapped over here, where it's up, and then it's sweeping, and people are telling you 30K next, and then it sweeps, and you flush back below, and there's daily closes back below, like, oh no, daily close below. There's going to be a load of these bearish confirmations in air quotes, and they're the things we need. Right? That's the kind of disbelief we're going to need for this rally. So that's where I'm at currently. I would say I don't expect any kind of sell-off before the New York session. That's why yesterday's dip down got bought up. Now it depends on the expectation versus the flows. I really don't think. I think it's really going to be really, really hard for the flows to match the expectation. So I don't expect much of a continuation. I actually think the most likely path from here is chop. I'd say we can probably take out the highs today. So we probably put a bit of a lower wick, take out the highs, and then the weekend goes nowhere. And I think actually at that point, when you've got Friday with no clean breakout, you've got Saturday, Sunday going sideways, and alts maybe run. At that point, to be honest, it becomes quite likely that we get a sell off, because I think then people will continue to expect strong positive ETF flows, and I just think that the market expectation versus reality is not going to match. That's where we might see our first, little shakeout. But we'll deal with that when it comes. Overall, good market, pretty healthy. ETH is leading, sort of leading. ETH's definitely a little bit stronger. ETH BTC, you can see there. ETH BTC starting to try and rise up. That's BNB coin. What's that? Just wanted to look at Solana. Solana is doing all right. 4-hour trend still holding. Yeah, still holding for now. So I'll update Solana and AVAX on trade of the day, and I'll do that now, but along with a bit of data. But that's it. GM. See you all later. We'll do live stream later on, 5 p.m. UTC, Casual Friday.